I wanted to talk about the introvert extrovert myth, as I called it many years ago, back when I was a big YouTuber. It's one of our most popular videos even today, hundreds of thousands of views. I don't really know what. And I really do regard it as a myth that we weirdly just all accept it as being a real thing. And then, our relationship to stress and exhaustion and maitri, the Buddhist notion of taking care of ourselves, which is a practice, not a theory. How do we take care of ourselves when we're exhausted? We're dealing with stress, whether we're an introvert or an extrovert. And what do those labels even mean? So for me, I think, 99% of people I've ever met have said, you're definitely not a Cancer, which I am. And you're definitely an extrovert, which I'm not exactly. So to me, I just think the popular notions, at least, I'm sure other people have more deeply rooted, profound relationships to astrology or introversion or extroversion. But the popular notions most of us have are very simple-minded and really not necessarily accurate. And if they're not accurate, they're probably not that helpful, because we're seeing the world through dichotomies that we just put over the world instead of looking at things clearly. So for me, I'm pretty extroverted in that I like people. I like blabbing. My idea of Valhalla, like if I go to heaven, if it were a cocktail party, or like farmer's market, that would be heaven. Having lots of brief conversations, some longer and deeper, off in the corners, some shorter, some bopping around and saying hi, and just, community. That's heaven to me. So that part of me is probably extroverted. The introverted part of me, though, is I don't really like to drink. I don't really often, maybe because I'm an entrepreneur, I'm just exhausted often. So I'll go home and I really need my alone time, my quiet time. If I'm in a relationship, that's great, but I need quiet, settled, I need to be able to turn off. There's introverted extroverts and extroverted introverts and all that. So I think less than, Waylon says these labels are bullshit. More the message is there's a spectrum. We're all somewhere on that spectrum of introversion and extroversion. And as many introverts will say, introversion does not equate to shyness. It's not the same thing. So, right now I'm running for Boulder City Council, so it's on my mind. I thought I would be really well equipped for a campaign. Sure, I have a full-time job, but, that has some flexibility in it. Sometimes it's a lot of work, sometimes it's not. And then I have this campaign, which is like another full-time job, but I'll be able to handle it because, I'm Buddhist, I'm good with stress, I'm good with blabbing and biking around to 80 different events and meetings. But big surprise, Waylon, I'm not that well equipped for it. It's exhausting, it's overwhelming. I rarely get so stressed I can't sleep, especially when I'm exhausted, and that's exactly what's happening now. I'm so stressed out, can barely sleep half the time. So don't worry, I'm taking care of myself, and that's what this video is about. So how do we take care of ourselves when we're going through that kind of stress, exhaustion? Well, number one, sleep. Sleep is both really easy when you're not planning for it. Like I'll come home, I'll sit down, turn on Ted Lasso, and within a few minutes, I'll be like, I'll just be wiped out. Then I go to bed, I meditate, key, if you want to have stress-free sleep. I meditate, go to bed, and half the time I can't sleep anyway, even if I'm exhausted, even though I was sleeping downstairs on the couch, like a weird, some sort of weird corpse in a weird position. So the key thing is sleep. But how do we protect that sleep? We need to protect our minds and our hearts and our stress levels. So meditation. On Elephant, we have lots of articles about how to meditate, talking about shamatha meditation, not just any old meditation. Shamatha takes our minds, which are, like monkey mind, going blah, 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 stories about our day, and then, or, how we're not going to have this ready in time, or how we're failing this and that, or how we offended this person or they offended us. We need to be able to recognize all that and then return to the present moment. And we have to practice that again and again within the context of bowing before and after, bowing symbolizing both beginning and ending, but also the point of all this is to be of benefit. The point of all this is to serve. The point of this is not that Waylon's head gets bigger and that everyone loves me, although that's a nice fantasy that we have when we're like 12. But if you're an adult, you probably got over that fantasy. Not everyone will love us, and that's more or less okay, although I still try to be loved or lovable. And if someone doesn't love me, I try to talk vulnerably and openly and honestly with them. But my ambition is less to be loved and more to be helpful, to kind of use any privilege I might have to be of benefit. So sleep, number one. Meditation, number two. Meditation keeps you on the path of service and being genuine, but also it helps protect and nurture your mind and your heart and your stress levels so that you can fully sleep. I think number three is really obvious, and it's talking with people, friends, mentors, whomever, and being willing to open up. So, one morning I'm so stressed out of my gourd, I barely slept. I go walk my dog to the park up here. I'm walking with a neighbor, Anne, who's this amazing, this amazing Boulder lady who works with different healing modalities, and maybe she's a midwife. Anyway, she's magical, and her puppy loves my puppy, and they're hanging out as we walk. And I start telling Anne she asks how it's been running for council. I start telling her, and I nearly start crying right away as I hug her. And I barely know this woman. I mean, I've known her forever, but we haven't hung out that much. So really just being willing to open up to people. And then she gave me probably 20, 30 minutes of advice, just out of the goodness of her heart. And by the end of that walk, I went from stressed out up on an 8.5 or an 8 down to 2, down to 1. It was pretty much gone, because the magic thing is when you open up and you communicate about the things you don't want to communicate about, then those things just get processed. It's not like you have magical advice happen, although she gave me great advice, but that, you naturally, in the process of opening up and being genuine and then listening to others who know more than me or you, you naturally process it. Even if you're talking with a peer, an equal, or sometimes even a junior person, if you're just open about your problems, everyone, human beings, children, everyone can enlighten us or get us out of our own way.